welcome you once again to our channel. On this video we're discussing differences between American English and British English, the two nations divided by a common language. It's clear that British people and Americans have been the same nation which over time were separated by this language. That's why these Englishes have far more similarities than differences. With the exception of some regional dialects, most Brits and Americans can easily understand one another. They watch each other's TV shows, sing each other's songs, and read each other's books. Which variation of English do you already employ in your daily communication, and why? I would love to see your responses down in the comment sections. Click on the subscribe button and the little bell to reach us further on our next video. In terms of speech, in American English, the R sounds of words are pronounced, which is known as rhotic speech. Meanwhile, in British English, when the letter R comes after a vowel in the same syllable, as in car, hard, or market, the R is not pronounced. This phenomenon is known as non-rhoticity. For example, the word car sounds as ka, and card sounds as card. Another difference is T stopping in a number of forms of spoken British English, which means that the sound T comes as a glottal stop. One example of this is the word British itself, which is pronounced as British in the UK English. Are there any spelling differences? There are hundreds of minor spelling differences between these two. You can thank American lexicographer Noah Webster for this. You might recognize Webster from the dictionary that carries his name, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, first published in the year 1806. The term Merriam in the dictionary comes from the last names of the founders of the publication, George Merriam and Charles Merriam. Noah Webster himself was an author, politician, and a teacher who started an effort to reform English spelling. Webster wanted to spell words the way they sounded, and spelling reform was also a way for America to show its independence from England. One example of his work was the removal of the extra letter U in most British words when they were Americanized. For example, color, spelled as C-O-L-O-U-R in British English, came to be as C-O-L-O-R in the US version. Or the word honor with the extra letter U, which ended up in H-O-N-O-R today. Other Webster's ideas failed. For example, he proposed that the plural form of the word woman, which is W-O-M-E-N, be spelled as W-I-M-M-E-N. But since his death in 1843, all the attempts to change the spelling rules in American English stopped going further. In British English, words like anemia, diarrhea, encyclopedia have vowel compounds of OE or AE in them, whereas in American English, only letter E represents the compound. Focus on the American examples of anemia, diarrhea, and encyclopedia. Some irregular verbs in British English end in letter T. The examples are burnt, dreamed, and leaped. Whereas in American English, they are made regular and they end in an ED. Look at the American examples carefully. Nouns like defense, offense, and license end in ENCE in British English, whereas they end in ENSE in American English. In British English, words which end in the letters EL are suffixed by doubling the final L, like cancelled, jeweler, marvelous, but in American English, the final L is not doubled. You can see them in the examples on the right. Verbs like appetize, familiarize, organize are British, as their American counterparts end in IZE. As you can see, there are other words which end in single L in British English, like enroll, fulfill, skillful. These words in American English end in double L. The ending OGUE is another characteristic of British English vocabulary. You can see the examples analog, monologue, and catalog. The final UE after the letter G, however, is left out in American English. It should also be noted that American English recognizes words spelled with OGUE ending. Words like color, behavior, mold contain the compound OU inside them in British English, whereas the letter U is removed in American English. One more distinction between British English and American English vocabulary is that some words like meter, fiber, center are typical of British English, whereas in American English their ending is not RE but ER. Finally, letter Y followed by R inside words in British English is often replaced by letter I in American English. Look at some more spelling differences on the table. Vocabulary differences. The other most noticeable difference between British and American speech is vocabulary. There are hundreds of everyday words that are different. For example, Brits call the front of a car the bonnet, while Americans call it the hood. Americans go on vacation, while Brits go on holidays or hauls. New Yorkers live in apartments. Londoners live in flats. There is another list of vocabulary differences on the screen, as you can see. Under the umbrella of vocabulary, there are a few more things we need to focus on. In American English, collective nouns are perceived as singular. For example, staff refers to a group of employees. Americans might say the band is good. But in British English, the collective noun can be either singular or plural. You might hear someone from Britain say, the team are playing tonight, or the team is playing tonight. For grammatical differences between these two Englishes, please watch the grammar video on our channel. Word compounds in British English and American English. In British English, we add an extra is at the end of the directional suffix word. For example, forwards and rightwards. In American English, however, they're forward and toward. Another difference is that in American English, you can freely add the suffix s to the word like day, night, evening, weekend, or Monday to form adverbs denoting repeated or customary actions. For example, I used to stay out evenings. The library is closed on Saturdays. In British English, however, speakers are often using the term every before these words, like every night, every weekend, every week, and so forth. In British English, the agentive er suffix is commonly attached to the words for sports like football, cricket, and volleyball. And they change them into words like footballer, cricketer, volleyballer, and so. But Americans use the word player after these words. For example, football player, basketball player, and etc. As for verb plus noun compound nouns, Americans prefer the verb in the infinitive form, whereas Brits favor the verb in the gerund form. Some examples are majorly British English words come from French roots, while American English finds its words from other places. For example, the American eggplant and zucchini are aubergine and courgette in British English. In terms of vocabulary differences, there is a lot more. For example, there are words and phrases in certain areas which may have different meanings in British English and in American English. These areas include social and cultural differences, government and politics, business and finance, employment and recruitment, transportation, television industry, telecommunications, numerical expressions like monetary amount, dates, time, percentages, and so forth, terminologies for levels of education, and a lot more. These differences came to existence throughout time. As the world progresses and goes ahead, there might be more coming. Thank you very much for watching.